It's a lot. So, I'm just going to read what I wrote here. A number of legislative bills have been filed in Kentucky state legislation that seem to address mental health, workers' rights, and housing. At first glance, these bills appear to be progressive and well-intended. However, when you look deeper and you connect the dots, you see that they form part of a much more troubling picture. These bills are not just isolated policy proposals, they are foundational to the creation of what could become a system resembling the wellness camps of authoritarian regimes. Specifically, House Bill 572 and Senate Bill 74, related to mental health, will empower the government to collect extensive data on vulnerable populations, including children from low-income families. These bills allow for government intervention and treatment in cases where children are deemed to need mental health services. The troubling part is that these bills could enable the government to take children from their families under the guise of treatment, especially when parents are unable to afford legal representation to fight the removal of their children, as this bill specifically deals with Medicaid patients. This creates a system where vulnerable families, particularly those on government assistance, could lose their children to a system they cannot access or challenge. Further complicating the issue is the shift in terminology and policy direction. House Bill 572 introduces the term facilities instead of institutions when referring to mental health care. While the bill facilities may sound more neutral, it carries the potential for a more institutionalized approach to care, which could indicate a move toward a less transparent and more controlled environment. This could pave the way for people to be funneled into these systems where they are subjected to oversight without the right to privacy, and where the religious organizations behind the housing initiatives may not be held accountable due to the special exemptions granted to them. For example, Senate Bill 59 and House Bill 514 are pieces of legislation that allow religious organizations to bypass local zoning laws and build multifamily housing and single-family homes, including residential treatment centers for addiction and mental health. These housing developments would be tax exempt, and the religious organizations would be outside the realm of government oversight, essentially operating in secret. These places could become the breeding grounds for wellness camps that are outside the control of state agencies or watchdog groups. These religious institutions already run addiction centers, and this legislation would allow them to expand this control, often without any public or government transparency. This is dangerous to the individual being sent there, as it removes accountability and opens the door for exploitation under the guise of treatment. When you add this to House Bill 398, which limits worker protections, particularly in environments like these wellness camps or religious housing projects, the situation becomes even more dire. This bill would restrict workers from seeking greater protections or representation, leaving them vulnerable in institutions/facilities where they might already be subject to unsafe conditions. More than just limiting wages, House Bill 398 would remove the right of workers to have a representative in situations involving safety or disputes, which could lead to further abuses within these quote-unquote wellness camps. Workers in these facilities would have little recourse if they were forced to work under exploitive conditions, especially in an isolated and unmonitored environment like those proposed by these bills. Moreover, House Bill 18 and House Bill 495 discuss the creation of religious exemptions, further insulating these religious-run facilities from scrutiny or oversight. This is not just a matter of religious freedom, it's a matter of giving a free pass to institutions/facilities that operate in secrecy, control their populations, and manipulate the vulnerable in the name of faith-based treatment. When you look at the way these bills are aligning, they are part of a larger federal trajectory supported by Project 2025, which mirrors authoritarian regimes throughout history. Religious institutions, with their considerable political influence and lobbying power, are the key players behind this agenda. By building these tax-exempt religious facilities, they are preparing the infrastructure for wellness camps. These camps will be designed to isolate, control, and potentially exploit those who fall through the cracks of society: activists, people with mental health challenges, those with ADHD, autism, or other conditions. The targeting of these groups is no coincidence. Studies show that individuals with conditions like ADHD or autism, as well as activists, are often more empathetic and more engaged in social causes. This makes them a particular target for such a system, as they have the potential to challenge the authoritarian control being put in place. Religious groups, by promoting policies to increase births, outlaw abortion, and create more people who can be sent into these camps, are playing a central role in shaping the future of the country. In effect, They are creating a captive population that can be manipulated, controlled, and isolated through wellness camps. The data collected through these mental health bills filed in Kentucky legislature will be used to target individuals deemed unfit for society without any meaningful transparency or public accountability. In summary, the passing of these bills related to mental health care creates the infrastructure for a system where mental health care and housing can be manipulated to control certain populations. They will pave the way for the wellness camp system where vulnerable people, particularly children and the mentally ill, can be removed from their families, placed in unaccountable religious institutions, and isolated from the public eye. These are not bills about mental health care or addiction. They are part of a broad, dark agenda that is being shaped by powerful religious groups and political entities who are working together to strip away our rights and control the future of our nation.